two teams I want to talk about quickly because I'm so confused and I don't know if they've won or lost. And one of them I don't think we'll know for maybe another 2 years. But I want your opinion on, let's first talk about the Detroit Red Wings. So I'm going to name off a couple moves here. They traded a third for Husso and then signed him for $4.75 million for 3 years. They picked up Kopp for 5 years at $5.625 million. Mata at 1 year, $2.25 million. Sherratt, 4 years, $4.75 million. Kubalik at 2.5 for 2 years, very good.
Yep.
And Perron for 2 years, I think it's also around $2.5 million. I gotta double check that one.
I think it's
or 4.5 million.
Yeah, love that deal. Love that deal for Perron.
I don't know what I'm thinking here. Do I like this or do I not? Like, I think I like it at face value, but when I start diving into some of these contracts, I get a little scared here.
I'll say this about Detroit. They definitely got better on paper and on the ice. I'll say that. But in terms of value and these value adds, like, this isn't characteristic of Stevie Y, because Husso paying a third, first of all, to get RFA rights, then to just re-sign him, and to overpay him at that, in my opinion, 4.75 times 3 years. Not saying he wasn't really good last year. He was one of the better analytic goalies in the league for a large portion of the season. But then we saw him lose the crease in the playoffs back to Binnington, and he wasn't very good then. And we know goalies are voodoo, so in my opinion, that's an overpayment for him. You look at Ben Sherratt. In my opinion, I think that's an overpayment for him, despite the fact that he makes their blue line better by being a reliable defender out there. We look at Perron and Kubalik, two deals that I do really like, and I think they make total sense to add to the scoring depth on this team. And Kopp. Kopp, to me, is the worst one. I think that is an overpayment that's going to age way more poorly than even the other two that I mentioned because of the physical style that he plays. I think you're looking at overpayment by at least 1.5 per year. But all of that being said, they're better on the ice and they're going to compete for a playoff spot. So you can talk about, value all you want and getting the most out of players in terms of signing free agents or whatever, because Stevie Y has typically been a guy who manages assets better than anyone else in the league, or he's at least been, top 3 in that respect among GMs. But at a certain point, your team has to compete. And if that takes 1 or 2 overpayments, maybe that's what it takes.
So, I like Andrew Kopp. I like the way he plays.
So
I love David Perron. He's sneaky good top 6 winger. And then in the playoffs, he's like a first line winger for some reason.
Yeah.
So I like these signings. But the things that scare me is next year, you got to sign Dylan Larkin. You got to sign Tyler Bertuzzi. You got to sign Puis Suter. It's like there's a lot coming up here. And then in 2 years, you got to sign Lucas Raymond and Mo Seider.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what's going to become of these contracts? Do you know what this team is starting to smell like to me? Is the Edmonton Oilers. Mm-hmm. It's a team full of around $5 million contracts. And then you'll be paying 2 superstars around, 12 and 10.
Yeah.
Which
I could see.
Seider, 12 million. Give it to him right now. Yeah. If I was him, 8 million, 12 years, or 8 years, 12 million. The other way would have been a lot better.
Yeah, 12 times 12. How about?
Yeah. So it's going to get scary in the future, and that's a lot of money that they got to dish out. What's Dylan Larkin going to be making? What does Tyler Bertuzzi make?
I think Bertuzzi's time in Detroit is kind of coming to an end, and I think that was made clear when, first of all, when Mantha was traded, right? That kind of sent the message that no one who's a part of this younger-ish core that never really made a huge impact, no one's safe, right? Like, even a guy like Dylan Larkin, I don't think he's safe. And Bertuzzi, I think Yzerman and company sees him kind of on the periphery of this core now, especially that you have guys like Raymond and Vrana as a part of the core. So I don't know. I think Bertuzzi, I'm not too worried about. Larkin, though, I think they probably want to keep because he's their guy. He's their captain. You know, he's more than just a player. He's a locker room presence, etc. So I agree. Like, it's going to get scary in a few years. But I'll also say this, not just about Detroit, but about kind of every team in the league, you know, who has been handing out big contracts so far. And I've said this to you and Harp in the group chat. I think the NHL GMs know something that the public doesn't quite yet about the salary cap in the coming years. I think they've been told a rough estimate of the number and how much it's going to go up in the next couple years because there's been a ton of money handed out. And if the cap stays flat, that's brutal for a team like Detroit who overpaid 3 guys. But if the cap goes up by, you know, 10 million in the next 3 years, which it seems like it's going to, given how there was record revenue in the NHL this year. So once the whole escrow thing is figured out between the players and the owners or whatever, once that's figured out, you can expect the cap to skyrocket. I have a feeling, and this is just pure speculation, just based on the amount of pure dollars given out in free agency this year. I have a feeling that GMs have been told that the number is going to skyrocket and that they will be able to afford a few overpayments in the coming years.
Yeah, in 2 years, we're going to have to be looking back at it and doing it as a percent of cap. That's the only way we can look at these salaries in 2 years, especially if it's going to go up quite a bit. And I really hope it does. And I really expect it to after these last couple of years of revenue. And I think another one coming in here, another big season ahead. So yeah, I think there's got to be something happening. And last thing on Detroit.
Yeah.
I trust Stevie Y.
Same.
That's where I lay here. Like, so in my mind, after saying that, they're a winner.
Yeah.
Last comment.
Yep. Go ahead.
No, you.
Okay. Last comment on it about Stevie Y. The fact that you brought that up. You know, how you trust him. I saw a few takes on Instagram on the day that all of these deals got done. I believe it was the 13th. Was it the 13th that the offseason opened up? Anyways, and a ton of deals were made. I saw a few comments from a few analytics accounts that I follow saying, you know, July 13th will be remembered as the day that the analytics community gave up on Steve Yzerman because of some of the bad deals that were made. And I think that's hyperbole. You can't say that yet because I'm with you, man. I trust him. You know, he's not only an analytics focused GM, but he's also a guy who's played the game and knows what it takes to win. So we'll see how these deals turn out and we'll see if the cap goes up because I think that's definitely going to help him in the coming years.